Let's get you back to that breaking news we've been following all morning. A 10-hour standoff that left guests terrified at the Kahala Hotel and Resort is now over. The ordeal started just after 5:30 last night when Honolulu police officers first responded to a report of shots fired. And when security went to the man's room, they say that he fired a gunshot through the door. The hotel then told hundreds of people at the hotel to shelter in place, evacuated people near that affected room. And Ka'ili Lee was actually one of at least 100 people that were locked down in the ballroom trying to get dinner at the Plumera restaurant for actually your mother-in-law's birthday. Tell us about it, Ka'ili. How are you doing? Travelers from the Philippines that were able to bypass Hawaii's 10-day quarantine with negative COVID test results arrived this morning. The Philippines, Japan, Canada, South Korea, Taiwan, and Tahiti are all international partners in the state's Safe Travels program. And joining us live now is the president of Philippine Airlines, Gilbert Santamaria. Good to see you, Gilbert.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, throughout the pandemic, I know that Philippine Airlines was actually one of the very few carriers that continued to offer direct international flights. This is a huge help for Filipinos in Hawaii who want to travel home.
Yes, it is. Hawaii and the Philippines have very long ties. Philippine Airlines has been flying to Honolulu for 75 years, and there are very strong ties of family between specific parts of the Philippines and Hawaii.
Well, we know that international travel is not fully back yet. There are only, like we said, a few carriers that do it. What is the demand like? How has it been for you during the pandemic?
The demand has actually been very high from North America to the Philippines, primarily because of ties of family. And as more and more Americans are vaccinated, they feel they need to get back to the Philippines to visit friends and family. And that is absolutely true for the Filipino-Hawaiian residents of these islands.
Well, I'm sure right now with what's happening with the surge in cases, not just here, but over there in the Philippines, there's growing concern. Are you worried about being able to still continue to function as we see these cases go higher?
Yes, we are. We're concerned because the pandemic has flattened most airlines, and unlike the U.S. carriers, in the Philippines, we haven't really had our demand come back and recover yet because vaccination rates aren't quite there yet. However, we see our flights to North America and Hawaii as a lifeline for our airline, and we see our mission as connecting families and getting them back together. We're very proud to be a trusted testing partner of Safe Travels Hawaii, and this is very important for us to ensure the safety of our travelers on both sides of the Pacific.
When do you expect to get back to pre-pandemic capacity, not only to the U.S., but overseas? Because we know Filipinos do like to travel for work and for pleasure.
Well, we don't really anticipate returning to pre-pandemic levels for a few years.
At least we start with Hawaii, and we saw those wonderful pictures of people coming home. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Gilbert Santamaria, president of Philippine Airlines, joining us today. Aloha. The mother of a Maui teen killed in a car crash over the weekend says she's overwhelmed by the outpouring of support for her ohana. Dane Sadang's son, 17-year-old Kahiao Hill of Wailuku, and his friend were thrown from their vehicle on Kahikili Highway in Waiahu. She said the driver, a 16-year-old boy, is recovering in the hospital. In a statement to KITV4, she says, "My heart is filled with so many emotions, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart." Hill's father is the former comedian known as Bulaia. He was with his son when he died. The tragedy sent shockwaves throughout the West Maui community. A memorial set up at the crash site. Hill's former teacher, Ka'apuni Aiwohi, said Kahiao left a legacy of love and inclusion.
That's exactly who he was. He was this big guy with a big personality that had so much aloha for everybody and made everybody feel like they were welcomed. And so that's what our community is losing. And there's also that side of what we can do to prevent it, which is a completely separate conversation, but is very necessary.
According to Maui police, alcohol and speed may have been factors in the crash, and the boys were not wearing seatbelts. The investigation is ongoing. Maui County Mayor Michael Victorino addressed the tragedy today.
Please, I beg you, be careful on the highways. It just takes one moment and it's over.
A GoFundMe page has been set up for the Sadang Hill family. At last check, about $26,000 has been raised for funeral services and medical expenses. Across the country, concerns are growing over the spread of the contagious Delta variant. I sat down with the governor in a one-on-one interview for his thoughts on the disturbing trend.
At what point do you think you would ever put restrictions back?
Well, I mean, I do think we will always take the actions that's necessary to keep our community safe.
August 3rd, first day of school, and a lot of parents like myself don't have any idea what to expect. What can you tell us to reassure us?
Let me just say this, that we've had a team from the Department of Health.
Medical experts also talk about maybe a long-term strategy of testing, regular testing, especially for children, as we're talking about, the fact that a lot of them are asymptomatic and the Delta variant being very contagious. And frankly, I've talked to so many people that do not want to get testing, because they just don't want to be flagged or they have to work, right? There's a lot of kind of fear there. What do you think? What's your thoughts about that?
We are definitely, as we prepare for the return of students to campus, we are making testing more available.
Breakfast of Champions. Kauai woman, actually, Barbara Funamura, is credited with inventing the first nori-wrapped ball of rice and the iconic canned meat about 35 years ago. And today, it's a staple in the island, as well as another staple, L&L Hawaiian Barbecue, joining us now with the founder and Spam Musubi ambassador, Eddie Flores. Good to see you, Eddie. Thanks for the musubi.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Woo!
Yeah.
We love the mascot.
We're doing good today.
Well, tell us how you came up with this idea to make today Spam Musubi Day.
Well, actually, way back 20 years ago, one of my franchisee told me that we should be selling Spam Musubi.